How do you truly describe the custom motorcycle now universally known as the American Chopper? Are they outrageous or artistic? Do they constitute the mind-warped rolling fantasies of their owners and builders? Or are they glorious personal statements by artists in metal, chrome and paint? Do they represent genuine rebellion against the boredom and respectability of regular 9-to-5 lifestyles? Or are they merely the big boys' toys of self-indulgent weekend warriors? In truth, they're all of these things and more. Choppers are cartoon machines made real, and these days are more popular than they've ever been, especially as the top-rated TV shows in the States that are responsible for the surging interest are now also spreading their images of the biker lifestyle around the globe. European magazines that once derided choppers as unrideable and ridiculous are now firmly on the custom bike bandwagon and are as lavish in their praise as any stateside observers. No longer is the chopper one of those things that the rest of the world would have previously dismissed with the words, "only in America." From London to Los Angeles, respectable suburban fathers who would have once have covered their kids' eyes at the first sight of a biker bash on TV now hungrily switch on to see who's won the latest televised build-off contest between the various chopper kings. And at night, they no doubt dream of riding off into the sunset on an endless ribbon of two-lane blacktop with their old lady, or perhaps someone else's, clamped to the pillion pad on the cut-off rear fender of a thundering V-twin. To see for yourself just how many people are actually living the American chopper dream, simply head for the Bike Week, staged at Daytona Beach in Florida each March. In reality, it's just a huge gathering of the biker clans, more than 300,000 motorcycle riders experiencing chopper heaven in the Florida sun. Bikes, beer and the babes. For the red-blooded males who make up most of the crowd, there's just no way it can get any better than this. Like the race fans out at the Speedway, these guys have their heroes too, but they pay homage to the Chopper Kings, bike builders with talent, imagination, and an obvious charisma that has now been polished to perfection by exposure on television. Guys like Russell Mitchell, an Englishman in exile who's more than happy to grab his slice of the American pie.
Well, basically I've been messing with bikes since I was 16 and first got my license, but I actually started with Vespas and Lambrettas. My buddies back then were all, scooter boys, and for a couple of years I was heavy into that scene. And I actually, the very first Exile was a Lambretta chopper that I built, and it was pretty way out there, and it won all the trophies across the board. And it was so well known that, the next bike I built was Exile 2 and then Exile 3, and then when I started the company, it made sense, Exile Cycles plus, I am in exile, so it just seemed like the natural name. The move into the real motorcycles, as it were, sorry guys. What happened was I had that Exile, like I say, won all the trophies. I wanted to enter it in the Kent bike show, and I wrote to the Angels to try and enter, and basically the Hells Angels said, look, we'd love you to come down and check out our show, but we don't recommend you bring a Lambretta down here. Back then, it was that whole bikes versus scooters thing. And exactly as I knew would happen, I borrowed a KZ650 or a Z650 to you guys off a friend of mine, and as I knew, first time I got on a bike that would do 100 miles an hour, I went up the M5, I came back down the M5, I raffled the thing off next weekend at a scooter rally, and I bought a 650 and 1,000, and basically chopped the hell out of them, and that's what started me. Well, when I first came out of here, I was, pretty much penny. Oh, I actually arrived here with $9,000, and the second day I was here, I spent $8,650 of it on a Softail Harley. That was back right before this craze went absolutely ballistic, and you could still buy a pretty new Softail Harley for $8,650. But soon after that, I'd burned all my money, so I was penniless for a while, and it was back to the GS 1000, what have you. And then sort of by chance, 9-10 years ago, I'd actually built a couple of bikes for myself and one for my best friend back in England. And I really got carried away, and I learned some machine shop skills, especially for these bikes, designed a whole bunch of parts. And the very first time I went out, I went to the local bike night literally up the street from where I live, and Keith Ball, who was the editor of Easy Riders, said, can I put your bike in Easy Riders? And by the time they called me up for the feature, I'd invented this whole Exile. Yeah, my shop, Exile Cycles. I actually stole a friend's pager number and made that the official number of Exile Cycles. I just made up this whole story about this shop I had because I figured, hey, you know what, I might as well get into it. And basically that was it. The magazine feature got me a customer, and that customer got me another magazine feature, and that got me 2 more customers. And that's how it started. It started in a garden shed, and then I moved to a house that had a 4-car garage, and we were in there for a few years. And I just went into a deal on a 19,000 square foot place now in North Hollywood. So it's just, been snowballing. And then, we've got all this TV stuff that's just put it through the roof. So it's been great. Basically, I've been real lucky. I have a particular style. I'm a super minimalist. I like everything to be clean, industrial. I'm not remotely interested in bright colors or fancy paint jobs or excess chrome. In fact, we go the whole other way. A lot of our bikes are, flat black, satin black. We do a lot of brushed aluminum. This obviously takes it to a whole new level. But we've basically developed a reputation for that style, and nobody else really in America seems to be doing it. And over the years, that's basically become our niche, and we have a monopoly on that niche, 95% of the people don't get it or don't care about it, but that's fine, you know what I mean? There's enough other people out there that really dig our stuff, and it's, just going crazy. This is one huge country with a ton of people with massive disposable income. You try doing what I'm doing here in England and making the sort of living that, I've been fortunate enough to make, and, these other guys around here, it's, it is, as you say, it is the American dream, and I've been really, really lucky. My only influences really in the chopper scene were the Swedish and the German bikes that I used to see back in Backstreet Heroes way back when. This is when that magazine first started. I think my first magazine feature was like issue 24 or something of Backstreet Heroes. They must be on like 2000 and something by now. But those were the guys. Some of the Germans had these real fat, short, a lot of our bikes are short with big fat front tires, and the Germans were doing that at that time. And then the Swedes, they had the very extreme choppers, but the engineering was always impeccable, and it was always about the metal and the components, and it wasn't about, like I say, the paint or the shine. It was just about the actual machine, and that's what I really liked. We actually just finished this one. A guy came into our shop, was a blacksmith, and he actually taught me how to chisel in this detail, and I was so into it that I did this tank, and then once we had the tank, the whole bike kind of grew from that. And basically, it's one of our sort of chopper layouts, but all of this stuff is what they call a patina finish. They sell different acids that can basically screw up the surface of your metal and make it look however you want. So we picked some pretty aggressive finishes, and basically that's what you do. You just dump all this stuff in acid. It looks like that. You put a coat over it of this sort of wax lacquer stuff, and that's what you get. And we sort of took it a little bit further with the hockey tape, and we actually set it on fire the other night accidentally. We were burning a t-shirt from one of those other bike companies that shan't be named right now, and my guy had pulled the gas line off of this to dump the shirt and gas, and he handed it to me, and I set fire without realizing what was going on behind me. I dropped it on the floor, and he hadn't put the gas line back on. So this went up, he went up, my jeans were on fire. They were throwing drinks like from the bar, but it was cool. Fortunately, it was this one, so nobody actually noticed. Some of the wiring terminals are a little bit brittle now, but it still works.
There's a Harley-Davidson exhibition at the Daytona Convention Center during Bike Week, but these days it's far from being the only show in town. Turn any corner on Main Street and it seems like there's another parking lot with some chopper company showing off its wares. Head out of town towards the Speedway and you'll pass even bigger shows in cordoned-off corners of shopping malls. Get to the Speedway itself and you'll find literally acres and acres of bikes on show in the massive open spaces outside the entrance gates. All of the major manufacturers still show up at Daytona to show off their wares, but these days they make sure that their cruiser and street rod models get pride of place over the sports bikes. And everywhere you look, it seems you see custom bike makers, big and small, for no one can afford to miss out on Daytona. Somewhere in those hundreds of thousands of bikers, there's a customer for every chopper shop or aftermarket parts maker. And the aftermarket engine specialists are reaping a real bonanza. In just about everyone's eyes, a chopper just has to have a V-twin engine. Certainly if you look around this lot, you'll be hard put to spot any alternative selections. And at one time, a Harley-Davidson was the only bike you could buy if you wanted a V-twin and wanted to buy American. If you just wanted a bike with the classic V-twin engine that custom bikes seem to demand, then you could still get one from all four of the major Japanese manufacturers. You still can, in fact, and damn fine bikes they are too. But not so long ago, if, like most custom bike builders, you wanted an American V-twin, it had to be a Harley. That's not the case these days, though. The V-twin units in the choppers of this segment might look like Harley motors, but in reality, engines from specialist companies such as S&S and RevTech power just about every built-to-order bike from chopper shops nowadays. These are companies who began in business by making performance parts for Harleys, and their engines still have the classic Harley profile and dimensions, but there are no Harley parts involved. So if you're building a custom bike, you no longer have to scour the junkyards to get a motor from a crashed Harley. You can pick up the phone, give your credit card number, and the UPS truck will deliver an engine in a crate to your door within days. The chopper explosion has meant these former special parts makers are now turning out literally hundreds of thousands of complete engines each year in order to satisfy the new demand. Viewers of the Discovery Channel series American Chopper will already have recognized the distinctive OCC logo that is the trademark of Orange County Choppers. This is the company owned by the stars of the show, the Tuttle family from Montgomery in upstate New York. Paul Tuttle Sr. and his sons Paul Jr. and Mikey are the guys who were memorably described in a recent magazine article as the family who put the fun in dysfunctional. And the family dynamics are certainly as big a part of the TV series as the motorcycles. American Chopper is a strange combination of reality television, soap opera, and motorcycle program, and it makes oddly compulsive viewing, as its ratings will attest. It also drew thousands of fans each day to the OCC 1 Shop Show, set up in the corner of a car park across the street from the Daytona Speedway. Most of the bikes made famous by the TV series were on show, including this futuristic chopper commissioned from OCC as part of the promotional push for the Will Smith movie I, Robot. The Tuttles only began building choppers in 1999, but Paul Sr. had already built up a thriving steel fabrication business. After fabricating the first OCC chopper in his basement, he took it to Daytona Bike Week and put it on show. This led to orders for more, and when OCC was selected as the builder for the American Chopper series, the family suddenly found themselves established as bona fide TV stars. And in true American entrepreneurial fashion, This has been parlayed into a mega business of custom bike building, along with clothing and accessory lines. One of the things that OCC is famous for is the building of theme bikes, and a favorite of many American shop viewers is the Fire Bike that pays homage to the New York Fire Department heroes of the 9/11 disaster at the World Trade Center. Not surprisingly, some of the most popular features of Daytona Bike Week are the ride-outs, staged by most of the major motorcycle manufacturers. These give you the chance to actually check out the models that might have caught your eye in advertisements or magazine editorials, and help to make up your mind about which one you'll choose when you're ready to buy. They're also a pretty neat way of spending some of your vacation time down there in the Florida sun. This is the Harley-Davidson ride-out area, and it offered the chance to try all of the company's major models, ranging from the performance-oriented V-Rod through cruisers and full-dress tourers. For obvious reasons, the lines waiting for a Harley ride were always long. Owning a hog is still high on the wish list of many riders from all around the globe. Harley-Davidson might still be number one in the American-made scene, but it's no longer the only game in town. Victory Motorcycles have enlisted the aid of custom bike legend Arlen Ness in styling their latest bikes, as well as employing the equally obvious and well-established talents of his son Corey. The Ness influence is obvious in the flowing lines of the Victory, and it is a major factor in making the Mark a true challenger to Harley-Davidson in the mainstream motorcycle market. As well as being superbly styled, the Victory bikes are also superbly engineered. The company is actually the motorcycle division of Polaris, which is justly famous for its snowmobiles. And if you can make a motor that'll run with 100% reliability in the winter wastelands of the frozen north, then it isn't going to be too difficult to make your own motorcycle engine. Sensibly, Victory didn't try to break the mold with its new bikes. The engine has that familiar all-American V-twin configuration, and the bikes have a smooth and integrated custom look. After finishing their ride on the Victory, bikers could walk next door and sample another homegrown product, one which must still definitely carry the awestruck tag of only in America. Nobody could ever say that the styling of the Boss Hoss is its strong point, but why should its riders care about that? They're more interested in the fact that it's powered by a 350 cubic inch Chevrolet V8 engine. This is the engine that powers much of the General Motors range of cars, including the Corvette sports car. Its capacity is 5.7 litres in European speak, and even in its most basic form, it puts out 350 horsepower. And just in case that isn't enough for those people who believe the American dictum that there's no substitute for cubic inches, it is possible to go into the automotive aftermarket